Hey everybody, Pablo here. Week 3, assignment 3, a how-to basically, motorcycle 101. I'm going to talk about main things to keep in mind when you first get on a bike, things you need to check for, proper attire. We'll talk a little bit about things to look for and to make sure that your actual ride is going to be a safe one. The first thing that you'll want to do when you are going to start to plan a trip or actually go on the bike is you're going to want to check your tires. Your tires are very, very important naturally. And the main difference between a motorcycle and a car is that in a car, if you get a flat tire, you basically pull off to the right, go in, change your tire, and you're good to go. On a bike, you only have 2 tires, so if you get an actual flat while you're riding, it's a little more complicated and a little more life-threatening. So you just need to make sure that your actual tires are correct and that you don't have any issue with it. The next thing that you're going to want to check for is going to be your fluids. You're going to want to check for your oil. You're going to want to check for all the different things that you normally don't check for in a car. Transmission, oil, things along those lines, just to make sure that you get from point A to point B safely. Actually going into the motorcycle, once you're ready to and you've checked all the different fluids, the next thing you're going to want to do is, naturally, you're going to get on the bike and you're going to bring the bike up and you're going to level it completely level with the street. At this point, the first thing you want to do is put the kickstand, and you're going to want to bring that up just to make sure that your bike can turn on. You're going to take your key, and every bike's going to be different, but for this particular one, we're going to put it in the actual ignition, and we're going to turn it 1 notch. What this is going to do is it's going to basically tell you that the bike is ready to be started, and basically it's ready for use. Main thing to keep in mind is usually bikes, when you park them, you leave them on first gear. That ensures that if you've ever driven a standard in a vehicle, that the bike isn't going to move by itself if it's in an inclined location or something along those lines. The easiest way to know if you're in neutral is to basically rock the bike. If the bike has free motion backwards, then you're in neutral. If the bike kicks you back, then you're in a gear. You're going to take your actual clutch right here and you're going to push it down. And if I do this, you'll notice that now I can move the bike freely because I am basically in between clutch. The gears themselves are going to be, first is going to be all the way down, then neutral is going to be in between first and second, which is going to be up 1/2 notch. At this point, if I let go of the clutch, you will notice that the bike completely moves freely because I am in neutral. Okay? If I push this down and I go up another one, now I'm in second gear. If I let this go and I try to move the bike, it will not have free range. Now the gears are going to be first down, then neutral, then second, third, fourth, fifth, and in some bikes, 6th. Okay? And that's basically all of the different gears. The main thing to keep in mind when you turn on a bike, you want it to be in neutral, because if you're not holding onto the clutch, then the bike isn't going to try and get out from underneath. So to turn the bike on, basically what we're going to do at this point is we're going to switch the actual power switch so that it's basically in the on switch, and then we're going to bring down the brake, okay, and we're going to hold the actual power button, okay. Now, since I am in gear, as you'll notice, the bike did not turn on because I'm not in neutral, okay, and those are just safety precautions just to make sure that the bike doesn't jump out from underneath you. Now if I bring this down and I leave this in neutral, which again, the bike moves freely without my hand on the clutch, okay, and I do the exact same steps, the bike turns on, okay. Now, at this point, the bike isn't going to go anywhere because I'm in neutral, okay. If I bring the clutch down and I push this down, now I'm in first gear. If I let this go, the bike is going to go, okay. So if you'll notice, I'm going to let it go gently. You're going to see that the bike's going to start to move by itself, okay? And that's basically because when you release this and the bike is on an actual gear, what you're basically in essence doing is you're giving the back tire power. You're basically making it to start to move with the chain, okay? So if I do that, okay, you'll notice that as I start to let go, the bike is going to start to move, okay? Now, if I was to bring this back into neutral and let this go, you'll notice I'm not going anywhere, okay? And that's why it's so important and so key to lot more complicated things, and we'll get into those in future videos. But for this particular one, it's kind of like a beginner's guide to the initial parts and the initial pieces that you need to keep in mind. So that's pretty much all that there is to it. Proper attire. When riding a bike, again, it's a little different than a car. On a vehicle, you can ride whatever you want. If you notice what I'm wearing, I've got a leather jacket. This basically would ensure that if for some reason I was to fall off of the bike or something along those lines, the actual jacket itself is going to take all the impact instead of me. Okay? When it comes to actual foot attire, instead of wearing shoes or anything that has strings that could get caught underneath the tire, you're going to basically wear boots or something that is basically a little more protective. When it comes to headgear, naturally the cowboy hat's not going to be the case. You're going to want a helmet. This is a half helmet. You can get a 3/4 helmet, which actually comes out down here, or you can get a full helmet, which you usually see in sports bikes or some things along those lines. You'll want gloves, something real sturdy, full-fingered, and that basically ensures that as things are flying up or if hot air or things like that come and impact the bike, it's not going to impact you from actually being able to drive. And that's pretty much attire. You'll want to have long pants instead of shorts. That just ensures that you don't get burned on a muffler or on the engine or something along those lines. And that's pretty much it when it comes to attire.